Hello everyone, this is Frank DeFreitas and welcome to another week of HoloTalk for the week of April 10th, 2000. We're bringing you a special show this week. We have been running a series of shows that we recorded at the Center for the Holographic Arts in Long Island City, New York. But we had some news come through that we've been waiting for quite some time, and I'd like to at least dedicate this program to that news. Our special guest this week is going to be Franz from Ross Books, and I'm joined right now with Michelle Roy once again in the studio. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, because you're involved with this project to some extent as well. To quite a bit extent in some areas that we'll get into in just a second. But what's happened is over the past year, or maybe a little bit more than a year, we've been working with Ross Books, who has published the Holography Handbook and Holography Marketplace, to publish Shoebox Holography as a regular book. As many of you know, that Shoebox Holography was designed around the semiconductor lasers and a little system that students are using, and even some amateurs and hobbyists, to create holograms. Franz Ross gave me a call and said they were interested in doing the book a little over a year ago, and since that time we've been working on it, and now it's going to be released on April 14th and will be available in bookstores across the country and also your regular internet outlets such as Amazon.com, Barnes & Nobles, etc. Michelle's involved with this to the point that you did a appendix to the book as far as career development with students. And along that vein, what I'd like to do, having you on the show right now, is to get a few of your thoughts on how you feel that Shoebox Holography ties into the educational curriculum of a lot of the schools.
I think that one of the trends that we see in schools is that they're moving to more project-oriented curricula where kids are, rather than sitting and reading a book about lasers or holography or whatever, not that they don't need to read books, but actually having hands-on experiences, particularly in the sciences, is incredibly important in terms of helping kids understand the underlying, scientific principles and how everything works. And I think that the great thing about the Shoebox book is that it shows teachers and students, step by step, how to go through a project of creating a hologram that gives kids a real hands-on experience with the technology and the scientific principles. Plus the fact that a lot of schools are going to more interdisciplinary approaches where they're having, it's not just, one subject on its own, and there's so many, math, physics, all of those things tie into what you do with Shoebox. So, that's a real opportunity for teachers to do something that's not only project-oriented and hands-on, but also interdisciplinary. So.
Well, it was the Shoebox Holography Guide that allowed holography itself to become part of the state standards in Florida with communication technologies. And the way that Bill Pugh and I worked on that was showing, it was very important that we showed how other areas of education can tie in with
how it hit on different standards. And most states are moving to standards-based education. So if schools are looking for a way to, have a unit, in a science class or whatever that hits across multiple standards, because many schools are complaining, well, how the heck are we supposed to cover all of this, in a school year or over the course of a kid's life in the schools? Well, this is something that hits across multiple standards, and so those would, be satisfied in one project. And
by the end of this school year, I will have a program guide together for teachers which will show them how they can bring a number of different students with different interests into this whole process, and all centered around the science and technology of Shoebox Holography.
Well, and you could even have teachers working together you could have the teachers that who have the same kids in the science class, and they work together so that it's actually the same kids, just in their different classes.
So we'll get that program guide together for teachers as well, and you would be able to order that along with the Shoebox Holography book itself. Also, another area of the book that you wrote yourself,
the careers, careers and lasers.
And you want to tell the listeners a little bit about that?
I mean, very quickly, one of the things that we wanted to do was also look at how, if kids found that they were interested, or anyone found that they were interested in the whole field of lasers and photonics as a result of going through the Shoebox Holography, they could then explore different career options. So that the appendix that I wrote basically talks about what are the different aspects that you have to consider in career development. And we did a show, earlier in the season talking about that. But then also has, specific links to explore careers in lasers and photonics, links to education programs and so forth. So that's all in that appendix, so that if kids or whoever are interested in getting into a career, they could, do some more exploration.
And I would like to thank you and Bill Freed and of the Freelance Group for Career and Workforce Innovation for providing the materials to go into the Shoebox Holography book, which will definitely be a great resource for teachers and educators and hobbyists if they would feel like they'd like to get more information, maybe even for a career change somewhere down the line.
Right.
All right, we're going to move on to our interview with Franz Ross. Franz is out in California, Ross Books, and like I'd mentioned before, they also published the Holography Handbook, which has been the Bible of holography for many, many years, and now they have Shoebox Holography. And once again, it's going to be available through bookstores across the country and also through your internet outlets and also at the HoloWorld site. You can order it there. We will have ordering at the HoloWorld site itself. And it started off as that little guide that I put up on the web, I think it was last March or something like that. And
look what it's become.
Look what it's become.
That's great.
And hopefully we can bring kids into this field. I'm getting emails about kids winning first place science fair competitions.
I love the one that you showed me last night.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Nyasa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was so psyched.
And she got a special award from Women in Engineering. Okay, this is a little 12-year-old kid.
Right.
Young lady that may have a future in photonics, laser communications.
Yeah, it was filled with exclamation points, so that's how you know she was excited.
She's very excited, and we're very excited as well.
Yes, that was excellent.
Don't want to use the show as a sales tool, but as many of you know and have been listening for the past 3 years, I rarely get on here to sell anything, but this is something that's happening with holography, and I just happen to be involved with it, so I have to report on that as well. So let's move on to our interview with Franz Ross. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you tune in each and every week for a new HoloTalk show with myself and hopefully more visits with Michelle Roy.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye. Hello, HoloTalk listeners. This is Frank DeFreitas, and we have someone on the line here who needs no introduction at all. It's Franz Ross from Ross Books, publishing house of Holography Marketplace and Holography Handbook. Franz, how are you?
Fine. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing great. It's been a long road, hasn't it?
Yeah, it sure has. We've gone through a lot of editions of the Holography Marketplace, and we've gone through a few, editions of the handbook and all. And every time we come out with something, we try to improve a little bit,
Now we're doing Shoebox Holography.
Right, and that's very interesting the way that came up. We produced the Holography Handbook, and the handbook explains to people how to go about building their own little studio and creating their own holograms at a fairly inexpensive amount of money. But the feedback that we have been getting over time is that there still exists a large number of people, particularly people that are right at the very, very beginning stage or maybe in schools, for example, where they have extremely limited budgets.
Yeah.
And these people have been coming back and saying that they can't get the authorization for the space or for the amount of money that's needed to go out and do a decent job of making a nice lab, nice holograms. And so we're very excited about that. And, during the course of the development of the book, a high school teacher even called in, as I understand, and became very excited about it, tried it out with the students, and golly, I talked to the guy personally, and he sent in, lots of pictures of all the students running around making holograms, and they're very involved with it. They enjoy it very much, and it seems like it fills a need,
Yeah. I imagine the book will be available in bookstores.
Oh, yeah, it should be available this month, actually, April, probably toward the end of the month. And, we're really looking forward to it, very happy with it.
I know the book will be available online at your site, but will it also be available to people like through Amazon.com and things?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a relationship with Amazon.com. And what Amazon wants us to do is, as soon as we, get the first books off the press, to send it to them, and they'll put it up there, and it'll be available at Amazon as well. And other places, too, we have relationships with library distributors and regular distributors. It takes a while to get into the pipeline.
Yeah.
It's the type of publication you might not find in every single bookstore because, it's not the kind of thing you make movies out of, although you could.
Yeah, I'm sure we could make a movie out of this. Has it been over a year?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it has taken about a year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But, I think it was time well spent. It's the kind of thing that you want to go back and forth on, and, you know, in the development of the book, you know, we tried a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, we did.
Golly, I thought one of the things that took a little extra time was adding the fiber optic chapter, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah, we were contacted by John Clayer, who's been on this show already, and John does holograms inside of caves, and he had mentioned that he was working on using the laser pointers to do fiber optic holograms, so John worked with us and helped us get that chapter together, and Steve Michael did a lot of the experimentation with that, confirming the results and things as well.
Well, the thing that really excites me about it, you know, is just that it seems like if you're trying to introduce children to, you know, or beginning people to holography, there's nothing more exciting than seeing the light from the laser run through a little fiber optic tube, and then that fiber optic tube be used to expose the hologram itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's very interesting and very appealing.
And also showing the kids that this technology is used in everyday applications with communication technologies, and that's something that they could actually grow up and move into that field as a career someday.
Right. The really nice thing about it is that an instructor or someone that brings this into their school and sets it up for, you know, basically almost pocket change, you know, they are able to bring in a lot of other disciplines, you know. They can bring in fundamental optics, you know. They can discuss fiber optics and how it's used in not only in making holograms here, but also used in communications and so forth. And you know, there are a lot of add-on disciplines that they can give fundamental lectures on and introduction to.
And have a very wide group of students involved with it as well. A lot of different applications there. Yeah, there are a lot of different applications that you can find for it. The really nice thing about it is that because it's at the beginning level, you don't have to be, you know, a physics student that's you know well along into the instructional course in order to be able to appreciate it and play with it. It's more like a sort of a introductory physics course type of experiment. The other really nice thing about it, this is the other feedback that we got from schools, is that when you have something like making a hologram in a class, students are very interested in that because they get to put their hands on the objects, they get to move them around, they get to make something. Yes.
And then when they're done with it, they can actually walk out and go home with something. They've got a little show and tell item there.
Yeah.
And what we've found is that in an awful lot of the schools where this type of course is allowed to be put on the curricula, they have a very large sign-up, you know, and a great deal of interest in it.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that the educational sector is going to be one of the biggest groups to benefit by Shoebox Holography, but another group also would be artists who did not want to initially make that large investment to experiment with holography. Now they can actually just get started on their own at a very reasonable cost and see if it's something that they'd want to move on to.
That's exactly what I feel, and if it's done in a school setting, well, of course they can have the opportunity to discuss with other people that are like-minded what they think about it, and you know, look at different resources and so forth, and think about whether, you know, they want to move up to the next level and buy a decent laser, and what kind of laser is a decent laser.
Yeah.
And for individuals that want to do it at home by themselves, I mean, the really good thing about it is that you're able to witness the phenomena, you know, and see that it actually does work. And it's not a great cost to you. The whole thing can be done, you know, less than $100. And, you know, it gives you a feeling for what's involved in making a hologram, so that, you know, you can then, if you want to, step up to the next level and build your own little studio, or, you know, or do something a little more advanced.
Yeah. It's sort of going to do for holography what the Holography Handbook did back when it was released.
Yeah, I think that at the introductory level, you know, a lot of the people that were that would look at the handbook and read through it and say to themselves, "I'm really interested, but the problem is I can't quite justify to myself the space and the money." Well, those people will be captured. I mean, or will still be able to be introduced to the field of holography by doing, the Shoebox holography experiment.
Is it spiral bound?
Yeah, actually it's spiral bound so that, you can turn to any individual page and have it just, lie flat so that you can use it as a recipe book.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that you and Steve went to great lengths to make sure that the exposures and all are reasonably accurate. Of course, everybody understands that diode lasers, which are very inexpensive, the laser pointers, are not the same as a powerful CW laser or a very expensive laser. But they are capable of producing the exposures. And, what this book does is it gives you a specific emulsion, a specific exposure, and, distances and everything that you need so that you can produce the product.
Yes.
And without that, there would be an awful lot of disappointment, I think, on the part of a lot of people.
Now, you had mentioned to me that April 14th, some of the books will be ready off of the press. When would someone be able to order this for themselves?
Well, they can actually order the book now, since we're only, about a week or so away here.
Mm-hmm.
And any order that is received, will, be filled immediately, will be one of the first orders filled. So, you should get the book within a couple of weeks, you should ship within a couple of weeks.
Okay. Well, I guess it's a time for celebration now that we're finally finished with this project, and it was a great experience for me to be able to work on a project like this, and I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to put Shoebox holography out there.
Well, I want to thank you an awful lot for what you're doing, Frank. You're doing a great deal for the holography community. I don't think there's anyone else that does as much as what you do. And I think this book is, you're just the right author for it because these are your people. They're just, it gives a real good introduction to the field of holography. I'm sure people will be very happy with it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to come on HoloTalk.
Thank you very much, Frank.
And hang on the line. I want to talk to you after I close out here.
Right, sure.
See you next week, everyone. Remember, we have guests each and every week, and next week we're going to continue our program with the recordings that we did at the Center for the Holographic Arts in Long Island City, New York, and I hope you tune in then. Take care. Bye.